Titanic. It was the technological marvel of its era, the world's largest, most luxurious ocean liner. When it hit an iceberg and went down with more than 1,500 people aboard on an April night in 1912, the Titanic became one of the enduring legends of the 20th century.
Now, a technological marvel of this era, the deep-diving midget submarine has rekindled the Titanic story. A submarine, the three-man Alvin, and the robot Jason Jr. have collected thousands of photos and hours of videotape from the Titanic's grave. All this carried out 4 kilometers, 2.5 miles beneath the Atlantic.
Joining us now from Washington, Martin Bowen, one of the men who went down in the Alvin. Mr. Bowen, let me know what first went through your mind when you saw the Titanic.
First, of course, was the immensity of it. We in the Alvin were pretty small in comparison to the size of the Titanic itself, over 800 feet long, and the Alvin submersible is only about 25 feet long. So we were definitely outsized, and we're eager to take our first steps along the deck.
The immensity of everything. You'd been free-falling through the ocean for 2.5 hours. You've got 4 kilometers of water on top of you, and here you are looking at the remains of the greatest ship on Earth.
That's right. It was, beyond that, it even took us 3.5 days to reach the site, and a day of preparation to get the submarine and the robot ready. And then, of course, everything dwarfing our Jason Jr. robot. But it performed, and we're satisfied.
What interests me is that anything at all is left of anything down there. You have huge mass of water pressing down on everything. I would have thought these champagne bottles and chandeliers and so on would be just squashed flat.
That wouldn't happen unless there was some air pocket inside them. The nice, cold, deep ocean is a kind of a refrigerator. And many things last a long time. Depends on the materials that they're made of.
You went around the wreck, I'm told, 6 times looking for the gash in the side of the ship that killed her, and you didn't find it. What was going through your mind at that point?
Well, as I said before, we had to get a good idea of the scale of things we were looking at and realized that the bow had buried itself so far into the sediment that the actual part that would give us our best evidence was going to be behind a curtain of mud, and that we would not be able to see it.
As you moved your little maneuverable robot through that ship, and you began to see the images coming back, did you have the sense of a place that was built to a human scale, that had a human feel to it, or was it all completely alien?
No, it did have a human scale to it. When we looked at banisters or railings, or some of the equipment on the deck that we knew men had to work around. It gave you an idea of what a person would appear if they were standing there. Certain things on the ceiling had to be high enough for the hats that they enjoyed wearing in those days. And then I got the impression that I was actually, most of the time, seeing things from a child's height rather than an adult height, because Jason is a low-profile vehicle, and as its eye traveled, and I was seeing through its eye across the decks, I was at about maybe a meter or 1.5 meters off the deck, so it was actually a child's eye view.
And you were seeing Never Never Land?
Yes, it certainly was. It was as though someone had been assigned to make themselves a shipwreck, and that's what we got a chance to see.
There's treasure, of course, in this Never Never Land. According to the myths, there are vaults, waterproof safes with unstoried jewels, diamonds, money inside. Did you see anything of that? We
did photograph 4 or 5 of the safes that were on board the ship. What they contained at the time, I don't know. I would assume, since it was one of the gala evenings at the time of the disaster, that most people were wearing their valuables and probably took them with them.
Did you try to open any of these safes you saw?
Yes, the Alvin pilot approached one of the safes with a mechanical arm and got a good grip on the shiny handle, gave it a twist, and it didn't yield, so he gave a tug, and the whole safe lifted up off the ocean floor about, just a fraction, and then he decided it was fruitless, and we moved on.
Are you sorry you didn't get into that safe, or are you happy?
Oh, I'm not. It doesn't bother me one way or another. Curiosity at the time, but we had more work to do, and we weren't there to look into safes.
Because there is a fellow named Grimm, a millionaire from Texas, who says that he is going to dive the Titanic and pick up some souvenirs, bring them back to the surface and sell them. Now, would you be interested in being part of that?
Not in the slightest.
Is it sacrilege?
I'll leave that to the public to decide, and the people that are saying they're going out there again.
If you had to choose one memory of that scene or one image that reached you, touched you, what would it be?
I saw a man's shoe on one of the dives when we were, it was a black, probably black leather shoe lying on the arch side, and it just looked like the shoe needed a mate and a person to stand in them, but there was nothing there, and it was right up along the side of the Titanic itself, lying in the mud. And that's probably what I was most surprised at, and gave me a sort of a mental double take.
Martin Bowen, thanks for this. So long.